Call Verona Council meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Kennett.
All right. President McCarthy.
Present.
Dr. Carpenter.
Present.
Mr. Forbeck.
Present.
Ms. Loalbo.
Here.
Mr. Matlin.
Present.
Ms. Provenza.
Here.
Mr. Suchovich. Here. Mayor Recupero.
Here.
Mr. Alexander.
Here.
Mr. Pitch.
Here.
I'm also here.
Okay, at this time we will hear registered comments from the public. You can state your name and your address. Trish.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening. Hi, Trish.
Hi, again. I'm Trish Redzak-Showalter, 440 North. So tonight I'm here primarily as a resident of North Avenue. I'm also wearing my block wash cap because a couple of the issues I'm going to bring up definitely intersect with public safety. The issues I want to bring to your attention tonight include parking on North Avenue, street cleaning in Upper Verona, ticketing for street cleaning, and traffic calming measures for pedestrian safety. So the first item I'd like to talk about is re-requesting those parking lines on North Ave that I know have been brought up a couple times over the years. So in particular, we'd like to get the T parking lines, like similar to on Allegheny River Boulevard. So you may be asking, well, why North Ave? This is a residential area, and I've given this a lot of thought walking around the neighborhood. North Ave is somewhat unique in that it's long, uninterrupted stretches of thoroughfare that, compared to similar sections on Center and South, have absolutely no intersecting streets that offer decent parking alternatives, such as Bruno, for example. Very few driveways and single-family dwellings that have been converted to multiple-unit rental apartments, a practice we hope stops in the future. So this has led to intentional and unintentional bad parking. My assistant, John, has a few photos that my neighbors have compiled to illustrate what we're talking about. So as you'll see from the photos,
What's your name?
this often creates gaps, which again, oftentimes this is unintentional. A car moves, a car comes. But sometimes people do use gaps that aren't quite wide enough for a car in lieu of, say, a parking chair in order to hold a spot for a friend or family member.
I like parking chairs. Thank you. Thanks.
So we feel that parking lines would offer the simplest, most cost-effective means to take the high volume of cars in this limited area and efficiently maximize parking. Additionally, I'd like to point out that ticketing those who disregard these future linesman parking could offer an additional stream of revenue for the borough. Do you guys have any questions on that? I'll move on to my second issue. To compound the already stressful parking issue on North, 2 days per week throughout the entire year, all cars are forced to one side or the other, which has often created many heated arguments among neighbors and key carrings, most recently including my neighbor, Kat, that Officer Steve just confirmed last week was definitely an act of aggressive key carring. To that end, I last week took photos before and after street cleaning.
I'm more to pass out.
You're on the ball, assistant.
I feel like being on light.
So again, these are photos before and after street cleaning, both on the even and odd side, so on Tuesday and Wednesday. As I hope you'll see from the photos, there really doesn't seem to be much of a need for street cleaning on North and most likely in the upper part of the borough. We really do feel it is a waste of our limited borough workers' time and by extension all of our tax dollars. Many other communities restrict street cleaning to only once or twice a month, and primarily during the spring, summer, and fall, for example, from April to October. So if eliminating street cleaning in the upper borough sounds too drastic, perhaps we can consider adopting a less frequent schedule. So this will have a lot of positive ripple effects, we think, which, of course, will primarily free our borough workers to do other things within the borough. Any questions on item 2?
I think if anything, at least once a month.
Once a
Suppress it,
month.
You know,
Right.
if this is what the board would decide on, you know.
I think that
Not-
sounds
Not to eliminate it altogether.
No, but I think it needs to continue more frequently in Lower Verona.
Well,
We're not worried about that, let's move on. Go ahead.
So we would
Like on
have to
North
split
Avenue
it.
here,
Yeah.
you got a lot of fall, so a lot of times water washes everything away and everything.
Right.
That's what seemed to be happening. We actually did have some rain last week.
Mostly if you do one in like.
Yeah, your streets are really clean.
They are rather clean.
So we were just discussing it, we'll know if it was part of the MS4 agreement, for requirements for surface water control, but Matt was just explaining that you don't necessarily get credit for that, for this type of street cleaning, and then even once a month, it could be looked at as being counted as street sweeping instead of
Yeah.
every week.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, great. My next item related to street cleaning is ticketing for street cleaning. I may have brought this up once a long time ago, but if you fail to move your car, you are issued a $5 ticket. However, remember that we're ticketing at all weeks of the year and all types of weather when there may be snow or rain or wind. So from time to time, we don't actually receive the ticket. If you don't receive the ticket, there is no intermediate step. You're immediately served with a summons for traffic violation for $85, 16 times the original amount. And if I don't pay this, I'm going to be arrested for this ticket. So again, I'm willing to pay. I think all of us are willing to pay. We just like there to be an intermediate step that says, hey, you were issued a $5 ticket. It's now $10 or $20, $30, whatever it is, instead of this instant 16 times the original
I think
price.
that's how the city of Greensburg does it. If you pay it right that day, it's $5.
Yes.
Wait a week, it's $10.
It's $10, sure,
If I'm
right?
not mistaken, it's not for street cleaning the tickets, right?
So this is
signs
what-
are-
I'm confused too, because it also says the original fine was $15 when it should be $5.
I thought there was something about the street cleaning, because that has been brought up in the past about, that's a no parking for that side that day, that time. And I didn't think it had street sweeping on the signs.
No, maybe the chief can answer
Maybe the
this
chief
question.
has.
And basically, you're right, Ray. It's around here because in winter time it's for,
Snow removal and everything.
yeah, so it's not strictly street sweeping. The fine goes from 5 to 15 if you don't pay it within so many days. And then if it's still not paid, then it goes to the magistrates. And the step that you can do is come in and speak with Annette about the citation, about that.
So Chief, when it goes from 5 to 15, if they don't know they got the ticket at 5, do they know they get the ticket at 15?
No, there's no way that we have of sending somebody a letter, because we would be sending hundreds of letters to
Right.
people trying to address that. But there is a step, and it probably doesn't say it on the paperwork, that they do come in and speak to Annette about those citations that they get, and,
Not this one, though, the first one.
no, that,
This one, I can still talk to Annette.
yeah, and get that worked out. It will still be $5.
The reason why we went to yearly street sweeping was in 96 or 97, we had a big snowstorm.
You mean yearly?
The
Weekly?
yearly
Okay.
street sweeping.
Year-round.
Yeah, year-round. And we had this place, this was before all these people were here. This place was packed with people complaining because their streets weren't plowed. They plowed all the snow up against their cars and everything. And this board came up with the idea, like many communities, you'll see, emergency snow sweeping and what have you. We, decided to do that year long in case we had snow, and we didn't actually have any bad snow like that until 2010. And, so we could sweep, and make the roads wider and for people to park. That's why it's yearly.
Well, that makes sense, and like I said, I'm happy to pay the fine because we obviously didn't move the car, but just something in the middle that lets you know that you missed your $5 ticket.
Well, like the chief said, I don't think there's a way that they would be able to know that.
Special payment, and
You
you're
know.
probably gonna have to do it yearly.
I don't know. That would be up to them.
Yeah, you're asking that, sorry, You're asking that we send everybody letters that doesn't pay it within 2 or 3 days, and there's just no way to send everybody letters.
Just something before the $85. I mean, maybe like
Is there ever a time
whatever's
where
reasonable.
the ticket's not put on the car?
No, but like she said, wind or something like that could blow.
Blow it off.
I've even heard like bored kids or something. I don't know.
That's true.
Those things happen, but like the chief said, if you come down and talk to Annette.
That is helpful to know, and I will distribute the word that if you get one of these, you can do that. But if there is a way to add an intermediary, that would be appreciated. So item 4, if you guys are all still with me.
Yep.
Great. Item 4 is increasing what's known as traffic calming measures for pedestrian safety. Primarily, I'm thinking about speeding, which is still a problem in residential areas, certainly not just north. And north is not unique in that it is pretty high density with a lot of children, seniors, and also people with disabilities. So some thoughts on ways we could work on this are the following. The first is reducing speed limits. Former Council President Sandy Drabicki-Bell, one of her legacies was reducing the speed limit to 15 miles per hour in certain parts of the borough. Pedestrians hit at 20 miles per hour or less are 7 times less likely to have a fatal collision than if they were hit by someone going just 10 miles per hour higher at 30 miles per hour. In the distance a 20 mile per hour car can stop, a 30 mile per hour car will still be doing 24 miles per hour. So even just a small decrease could really help to improve safety, God forbid, should there be a collision. The second item I'd like to look at, perhaps if lines are to be done on north, is adding or remarking crosswalks to reduce the likelihood of a collision. Recently, you may have seen an article about an Oakmont teenager for her Girl Scout project. I brought the article. Just for anyone who missed it, I was really inspired. She's only 14. On her own accord, she worked with Oakmont Borough Manager to do a comprehensive review of all intersections in Oakmont, including the presence or absence of crosswalks and also the state of the crosswalks, whether or not they needed to be remarked. So I wanted to suggest that we maybe hire her, or in all seriousness, consider if there's a resource within our own community that may be willing to provide a similar service to the borough. A lot of people are interested in helping, but they're just not always sure how. I think this could definitely be a doable project for Verona, which is not even quite as big. In the meantime, you have me and my neighbors, and I reviewed some of the intersections in and adjacent to North. So this includes High Street, the intersection of North and First, North and Second, and also Ridge and First. So didn't have a ton of time for my diagram, so I borrowed my toddler's markers earlier. So I know everyone's pretty familiar, but just as a reminder, High Street is perpendicular to the beginning of North, just past the Doughboy. There's no sidewalk from Lower North around the bend, so this means that all people who maybe have a disability, who are seniors who can't use the stairs, are children on bikes, or parents with strollers must walk on the street down the hill. So with that in mind, I would really like to see if we could add a crosswalk, definitely across here, as well as across North, as well as a stop sign right here with the intersection with the stairs. I hope does that make sense so far? Yeah. The next intersection is the intersection in the middle with First and North. So this intersection has a 4-way stop, but I would like to see if we could possibly add a crosswalk here just to highlight the pedestrian crossings. This includes a lot of the children coming from both Upper and Lower North to turn on the First to go towards Verner. The third intersection on North is at the very top of Upper North and Second. So you may be surprised to know that there is not a stop sign either at the top of North, or if you were coming down Second and making a left down onto North, there is neither a stop sign there. So no stop sign at either location and no crosswalk. So I've heard from a lot of neighbors just through our revitalization of Neighborhood Block Watch that this is a huge problem for people just cruising around the corner, anyone who's walking a dog or children. It's led to a lot of scary scenarios in this intersection. The fourth intersection is not on North, but is the next street over. So Ridge coming up to First actually does not have a stop sign. I think it probably should have a stop sign. This is also an area where there are limited or no sidewalks, so it would be wonderful to see if we could also put a crosswalk there as well. Does that make sense? Does anyone want my terrible diagrams?
Sure. Let's do it to him now.
Scan out and send it.
Yeah.
They're really terrible. I'm sorry. You can probably put something nice there.
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the point across.
I was just really surprised. I even walked through them a couple times to confirm that those stop signs aren't there. We hear sometimes that Verona has incomplete sidewalks, and I would add to that sometimes I feel like we have incomplete stop signs. I'm not sure why you would have like 2 streets but not the 3rd and so on. Perhaps at a point in time it made sense, but you look like you have a thought.
I always have a thought.
Okay. The last measure I wanted to suggest is to look into any physical means that could be, second to last, any physical means that could be used to slow speeders. The one I had in mind was speed bumps, which I know is difficult to impossible with a brick road, but recently I heard that there are sometimes temporary speed bumps that people put, it's like less expensive rubber material that people put out usually for special events, but perhaps we could put them on North periodically and just see if that has an effect. And the truly last item is just enforcing traffic laws. I know, Chief, we're definitely down officers, so this is not totally practical right now, but I wanted to point out, because I know we're looking at improving and adding additional surveillance cameras throughout the borough. I know other towns I've lived in have been able to issue citations through video surveillance for speeding especially. So I didn't know if that was something we could incorporate moving forward with additional cameras and a general comprehensive plan for the borough. So that is all of my items. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you, council, for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Want to do
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm here tonight because I know we've been talking a little bit about my contract and changing things around. I wanted to also discuss things, but it's unfortunate, a lot of the stuff that I do is confidential, so I'm wondering if we should have this in executive session versus, I received a phone call today about something, or yesterday about something as well. So I don't know how you want to move on this going forward. My contract was very straightforward, and I've been working for the borough for a couple years now. I'm not sure, there's been changes. I actually wanted to pull back on some of my hours because I don't have enough time. But again, I think it's important that, you ask me questions directly at this point. But if it's going to be something about my professionalism, or if it's going to be something that's going to be confidential, I ask that we go into executive session about it.
Anybody have anything that they want to ask Carrie that would be?
Carrie, would you be willing to change your contract or work without a contract? And I don't know if I'm stating this the right way. Craig, maybe you can help me out. And working on as an as-needed basis. If you're looking to cut your hours back, working more as an as-needed basis.
That's actually what I want to do, honestly, because...
Not have a contract.
No, I need a contract. I need a contract being that, I can take it down. I just looked it over and it says 10 to 20 hours. I'd like to be 5 to 10 hours a month at the maximum. Mike DiVittorio couldn't get here tonight. He already called me, asked me about the agenda, asked me about setting up an interview with, I forget his name and I wrote it down. Oh, Bill Sakos, who we did on the 28th of January. We want to do a retirement article on him, a couple things about the lack of law enforcement. There's a couple things out there. What people I don't think understand is I create the story behind the scenes. That's what I do. And what I did with Next Pittsburgh and what I've done with articles, it brings more of a good vibe into Verona. That's what my job is. My job is not to have a presence at everything. My job is not to have, a say in everything. It's your community groups that's doing a great job. Jessica's doing an amazing job with the Verona community group, just getting the word out. Verona's in a very good place right now. I can only see it growing. So my job was if I'm getting direction from Jerry, president of council, whoever it is, to tell me to go ahead and do that, that's what I invoice for. And actually, that's what I want to do. My time is very limited right now, so I'm happy to continue to do that and work, still closely with Jerry on some things. But when I get calls, I'm going to say this out loud, about confidential information, they come through me. Last November, there were things going on in January this year, and that information is clearly confidential. I respect that. And what happens then is it stays within your council, it stays within, professional with your borough manager, and it's my job to communicate that information out to the public. I think I do a pretty good job of that, and I'm saying that because if we don't give a clear, consistent message, people are going to come in here and hack things up. There's a lot of news cameras around this borough building in the last couple months, and I think we did a really good job of keeping it. And those news people call me when I'm in the car with 3 kids driving to Scranton. So I'm just telling you, that's what you pay me for, and I'm very fair about the way I think I bill it. So if you have any questions,
is there any way we can work something out with her and Craig with a contract? If she wants a contractor, how do we do this?
You can do anything you want to do.
I think at this point, we need to rework the contract for the 5 to 10 hours.
And that's fine. I could set something up with Craig and Jerry in the next couple of days so we can move forward with this. But again, and the hours are monitored. Like I said, I have professional insurance, I have licensing, things like that. This is not an unprofessional gig. So I just wanted to be clear with that. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to, answer them. So.
Carrie, I think one of the things too, and it's been discussed by this entire board, is that like a monthly report. Now, I don't know if, where you were supposed to give a monthly report, and the consensus of the board says we never see one. Do we get one?
Well, I'll send an email in detail what I've done to Jerry, and Jerry, he can, push it out that way. We can do it that way.
This board is accountable for every penny, as you know.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
You're a councilwoman.
Absolutely. No, I know, and it's all invoiced. Believe you me, I have had to produce a lot of documents over the last 2 months, and everything that I've done is written up and on paper. And again, that's, the time well spent, again, it's there, and I know as a government entity you have to produce those things. There's a right to know. That's the law.
And Harry just loves you out there, Plum.
I love Plum. I do. But seriously, but if anyone has specific questions, set up the meeting. Jerry and I will go over it. If you want more stuff out there, I'm happy to do it. But again, I think there's a lot of stuff that you all can do too. So, we work together.
All right.
Anyone have any questions? Okay.
Thanks, Gary.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Any other comments?
Joseph Warren from Vogels Lane. I just want to make a remark that I've said before, that we are a full-time community. I think we deserve a full-time representation with the manager. And what I just saw was a verbal negotiation working with somebody versus what the outcome should be. I don't like that. I think you guys should outline what the need is of the community versus working backwards from someone's availability. So I'm not sure what your call is for the request of what the service is, but what I just saw I don't think is a reflection of how it should be. So I just want to share that if you are looking to have the outcome with our community for how it's put forth, I know there were a lot of things in the recent months. Jerry, I was here in January when you spoke to the TV crews that are waiting for you outside in the hallway. So I was here last month with the police officer, and I don't know you personally, so this is not a dig at you, man. This is just, I think as a municipality, things are different now. I think that if you're going to have a service, it should be spelled out a little bit more and not work backwards from the availability of a specific person. And from my remarks last month and the month before, addressing who it is as a business, and by the person's name, I'm not even sure who you guys have explored for doing the service, other than the person that was just up at the podium. So I just want to share that feedback as a citizen. I do agree there should be continuity within what we put outward facing to the community, and whether that direct line is to Jerry or not. Jerry, you are halftime, correct?
I can assure you I'm not halftime. I put a lot of hours into this community.
I'm not questioning that.
Okay.
You do hard work. I see the reports. I'm just asking. It's one of those things I think I've shared since I've been here. I believe that there should be full-time work for this community. We're fast growing. There's another business that just opened up on Saturday. I don't know how the press release go. I don't know how we stage different news entities that would come in for something like that. I'm not sure how you deal with an instance like you had to last month, Jerry, where you had the television crews in your face right after the meeting, and I'm sure that was very nerve-wracking. And that's not a dig at you either. I understand that you do a lot of hard work here, but my comments are that I believe that we are running as a full-time community now, but I think we have assets that need to come up to par with how we've grown recently. So to have somebody reduce their workload because of the availability that they have for half of the hours and work with somebody that's not a full-time employee, Jerry, I understand you do a lot of work, and I'm not sure how you measure. It's not full-time on paper, I understand that, but I'm just saying, I don't think we deserve to cut ourselves short with how we represent the community with someone working at their leisure, what's best for their personal timeline or time frame. I think we can keep growing, and I do notice a difference in last year with this group working together. I just think that you should consider, before you just put together another contract that you're going to go to possibly an executive session, talk about private matters about, I think you should answer some other questions before you just go straight to that as the solution. I just want to share that.
Thank you.
Respectfully, thank you.
Any other comments?
I have a comment, but I'm not written down for...
No, this is public comment. You can come up, Rhoda.
Again, Rhoda Wharf, 636 3rd Street in Verona. I'd like to thank Sylvia for all the work that she had done successfully completing the Banner Community application. And Carrie, and again, not to be personal, but we've had different events that the one time I even called you and you were jogging, and you asked me if I could take pictures, okay, for a cleanup. And I really don't think, using taxpayer dollars, that we even need Carrie's input. We have a marquee. We have Mike DiVictorio. We have a wonderful newsletter. The next issue coming out is fantastic. We have Curtis's network. We also have Facebook. So I think those avenues are enough to promote Verona. I really do. Plus the community group, the work, people see us when we do litter cleanup. So I really don't see, as far as taxpayer dollars, that service is necessary. Did we do anything with the water line to the gazebo?
No, I don't think it's been done yet.
I have to check with AJ. I'm not sure if he got to it or not.
Okay. We had mentioned, like on ARB, that one company with the hillside was really filthy beside Get-Go. I think you were going to look into it.
What is it?
It's a hillside.
Anchors, you're talking about anchors.
Anchors,
next
yeah.
to Get-Go.
Did you have an opportunity to look into that?
I'll talk with Mark on that.
Okay.
He is off for the next 2 weeks for personal reasons.
Okay.
But I think it's something we can talk to him about. I think it would become a code issue.
I think it would be, okay.
We'll definitely look into it.
Fantastic. Also, we haven't been getting code enforcement reports. And I know when I was on council, those were so important because you could actually see what was going, like the progress that Mark was making, and it was really great. And now Keith, now he's also in code enforcement, right?
Yes.
Don't we have like a little department? Is he doing code enforcement? I heard he was just doing
Keith was brought on
plan
intentionally
review?
to do plan reviews. Keith hasn't had hours in a while. He had some personal situations, personal reasons.
But could he be doing code enforcement? I mean, how many plan reviews do we have going?
He doesn't work here full-time. He works here when we need him.
Okay.
So it's not like he's getting paid to sit
If
here
I'm
and
not
wait for a
mistaken,
plan
he has some type of license to do something with buildings where Mark doesn't.
Right.
Where he
Right,
can go in.
That is commercial certification.
Is that what it was? I knew it was something.
Okay, I'm just saying that Mark could use the help, is what I'm getting at. And then we can actually, once we get a report, we can actually see the progress that, he's making. The dumpsters, we had discussed about, revisiting the whole idea of enclosures. Where are we anywhere close to that?
We have discussed it. Go ahead.
Okay. Hopefully, I'll touch base next workshop. The alleys, did you have a game plan, like what alleys we're going to start paving?
Dave and I are working on that.
Oh, okay, because some of them are like really, really bad. I was thinking maybe...
You weren't here last month, but there's a plan that these guys are putting together.
Oh, good.
Going through all the streets in Verona and categorizing them.
Right, I remember that being mentioned. Is there some way you could put it, Jerry, in the budget, like maybe $20,000, $30,000 to put aside every year for alleys and patchwork or something?
I mean, there's money in the budget, but you do know $20,000 or $30,000 is not going to pave an alley.
Okay, I just threw that number out.
A heck of a lot more.
That's true, okay. And just touching base with, what was discussed before, the marquee at Cribs, where are we?
We're set, we looked at it, we have a temporary idea. Down the road, there might be an idea too, where we'll have maybe a digital marquee that Matt was also looking into with our grants.
We have a grant for a new pavilion up there.
Okay.
If there's any funds left over, I'm talking to DCD of possibly using it towards an electronic marquee.
Oh, that'd be great.
So,
Yeah, I know it was discussed, I'm just bringing it up.
yeah,
to
that's
keep
a
it fresh.
possibility down the road.
Okay, just to keep it fresh in your minds. Also, do we have an emergency plan? And I knew when I was on council, we did have something, but it would be nice if we had it, in a concrete, and also to let the residents know, God forbid if there's an emergency, what are we supposed to do? Because I don't know. Where are we supposed to exit,
There is a plan in place.
Emergency management.
For emergency management. Mark has taken it over from me because it's pretty much a full-time job, and he's
Right.
finding that out. And we do have 3 evacuation sites in that plan.
Okay. Is this a good idea? Maybe to have like a little pamphlet or a flyer for all residents in Verona?
I'll get with Mark on that.
Okay.
I'll talk to him.
Once it gets all completed.
It's in the process of, they have to redo it every 5 years.
I think they
And
got,
I just attended a meeting with
I think they
Mark.
got to update that every year, don't they? With the county?
Every 5 years.
Every 5
It does a
years.
revamp, and so 2020 is the year. And I just attended a meeting with Mark last month, so it's in the process of being revamped right now.
Okay. I just thought, now with all the things going on with the virus going around, we just thought, we should maybe have something in place, but for all of us to know about it. Okay. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
I just would like to bring up one more thing, and I especially Rhode Island, I think you should listen to this. 2 years ago, there was a grant that was applied for Cribs, and it got denied. We talked about it, we pulled that grant. I gave it to one of the legislators. That grant got approved. A $200,000 grant got approved because I made sure it got approved, Rhoda. So I'm happy that you're getting your sign up there, but I want you to understand, I have always been for the good of Verona. The stuff that I do behind the scenes, is to grow this community.
Yeah,
so please understand that. I got us a $200,000 grant. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I want to pass these on first.
You should have heard those.
We have so many. And
We could share a few.
Yeah, we
could share.
That copy, these kind of, my copies aren't as good as hers.
For demolition.
Yeah, I wanted to
We've had problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait,
that's
this is
behind the
different.
wall On the side of the house.
Dave, you this one?
Yeah, they're all different.
Oh, all right.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. My name's John Hackett. My wife and I have lived at 826 4th Street for about 26 years now. And these pictures are of a ravine next to our home that is collapsing. There's a 36 to 48 inch concrete storm pipe that empties into the beginning of this ravine. Some of these pictures, I think most of these have a picture of that pipe that's broken away at the bottom. The water from this pipe runs down the ravine as a creek down to Ridge Avenue and eventually into Plum Creek. About 10 or 15 years ago, there was some road construction. I think it was by Anjo Construction, and this was in Penn Hills because I live on the Verona side of 4th Street, across the street from East Penn Hills. So they attached a lot of, and diverted many more storm water lines into this 36-inch line that empties into the ravine next to my home. Since this has happened, a tremendous amount of water now empties into this ravine and is eroding the hillsides, causing both sides of the ravine to collapse. At one spot, I've lost about 10 feet of my yard down over the hill into the ravine. After one heavy rain, the water came out with so much force that it blew the concrete head wall and a section of the pipe away, or what it was attached to, and blew it away. And you can see that in those pictures. Continuously, and especially after a heavy rain, I lose more hillside and it's getting closer to my house. During the last rain, the force of the water exiting the pipe, and it comes out almost like a solid column now, like whitewater rafting. It emptied the column and it eroded my neighbor's hillside. It washed away the dirt and rock under a large tree. I think I have an arrow on some of the pictures in a down motion. And a good portion of his yard collapsed into the ravine. His children's play set is now on the edge of a cliff. I grew up across the street from where I live now, and I spent a lot of my youth down in that ravine, exploring and looking for fossils in the shale. In my 65 years, I've never seen this hillside erode as much as it has recently. There's also a sanitary sewage line right in front of that pipe where the water comes out. This is all storm water from the streets. So where it exits and that head wall and pipe is detached now, it has come and eroded the concrete that encases the sewage line that is also in that area. And that sewage line runs down the ravine parallel to the very bottom. So what I'm looking for is some help, and over the years I've tried to throw some extra dirt over the hill. It's basically a cliff, it just goes right straight to the bottom. And every time it rains, there's so much torrent water that flushes on both sides of the hill. Every time it rains, I see another crack up on my hillside, and it eventually washes down. So it's getting real close to the house now. This has been going on, like I say, for about 10 or 15 years. It's nothing, like I say, that could be filled from the top. Whatever you dump over the top of the edge, it's just going to go straight down to the bottom and be washed away. Something needs to be built from the bottom up to keep this erosion. There was a guy named Matt from Senate years ago. No, it wasn't you, Matt. Larry from Senate. What was his position back then?
Same as Matt.
Okay, he came and looked at it a couple years ago.
I was just going to say, I was up there too, and we had a problem up there.
Yeah, you had sent him down.
Yeah.
He looked at it.
Yeah.
And I've kind of put it off thinking it was going to get better, and it's just gotten worse and worse.
Yeah, there's definitely a problem there.
It's come to the point now where I've removed my swimming pool that was close to the edge because I was afraid it might collapse with my grandkids down over the hill.
Is this your property line? The red?
The lines on here are what used to be my land, where it used to be. So there's like trees growing on that hillside. Those trees used to be right on the edge of the hillside. Now they're kind of growing over the hillside.
So, and you said this Yeah, I guess it would go down, it goes down to Selden Avenue, I believe. It empties out at Selden.
Where's Second Meadows?
Yeah, Selden
Is that
Avenue.
Selden?
You said,
Ridge.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because.
Down near the old Ingles.
Yeah, and we have a lot of problems down there from,
Where this empties into.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just looking for some help, whatever anybody can do to try to stabilize this. This just happened about a week or two ago, or last heavy rain. I felt that the big tree fell down, and like I say, the neighbor across the ravine from me, his kid's place set is right on a cliff now. He's going to have to move that back. Illegally, I don't know, I own this ravine. If I could, I'd like to fill it in, but I can't because the river runs through it. So I'm looking for some help from council to see what you guys can do. Thank you. Any questions anymore?
No, John, we'll have...
I'll talk to Greg, the solicitor, because I pulled the GIS from the county, and it doesn't show any easements or right-of-ways going across it. We might have to do some deed research to make sure that there's not any attached. If so, this would be something that we have to talk to Penn Hills on.
Yeah, I talked to Penn Hills, or somebody told me, well, it's Penn Hills' problem. It's all their water coming through your property. And I went, yeah, but this is my property. It's my property, Verona. Okay, thank you for your time.
The water coming out of that drain pipe here, is that continuous or is it just during?
There's always a trickle, but it's the road water.
Yeah.
What do you call the holes in the side of the street where the water runs down? Is that a cistern?
Catch basins.
Catch basins. So there were a lot of extra catch basins that were attached to that line a couple years ago up on Center and 4th and 5th. Okay. It's probably been at least 10 years ago. And ever since they did that, there's so much more volume of water coming out of there that it's now, like I say, it's coming out.
Added catch basins?
Yes.
I think that was
not added catch basins, but catch basins that were added to this 36-inch line. They might have been routed in another direction, down maybe on Ridge Street, but now it's coming down into my ravine.
John, what's your address?
826.
See, the road he lives on, Dave, is Penn Hills Road, but he lives in Verona.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I think about 15 feet of my front yard is Penn Hills.
Yeah.
When I bought it, I said, I'm not paying the taxes to everybody.
The phone line's the line.
I think the telephone pole.
Telephone poles is the line.
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah, if anybody's looking at a pole in my driveway, please take a look down over the hill. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Roof drain and everything.
Didn't you buy that house from Leroy, the Hall family? Wasn't that the Hall family? Yeah. Yeah, a couple years ago he passed. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Okay. Mr. Cannon.
The minutes were distributed to all the council members by email. We need a motion to accept the meeting minutes from the workshop in January.
Do I have a motion to make?
I'll make that motion.
First by Mr. Sutter.
Second.
Second by Dr. Carpenter. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Are any noes? No. Motion passed.
Bills payable report was distributed last week to all of council. We would need a motion to accept the bills payable report.
Need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Sutter made it first, second by
Ms. Walba.
Ms. Walba. Any questions? No questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No. Motion passed.
For the month of February, we received $502.21 in prior year real estate taxes, $7,432.80 in delinquent real estate taxes. I'm sorry, lost my train of thought. $10,851.54 in real estate transfer taxes, which that is a huge amount and might spark some questions. That is because of the Casabella apartments. We received $31,441.46 in earned income taxes for the current year, $9,939.94 in local service taxes for the current year.
Need a motion to accept the tax collector's special taxes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
First by Mr. Sutton, second by Mr. Provenzo. Are there any questions? No questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No no's, motion passed.
We began the month of February with $240,055.93 in the general fund. We received deposits of $136,619.01. We spent $97,406.17 with an ending balance in the general fund of $279,268.77.
Need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll make the motion.
First one by Mr. Suchovich, second by Mr. Forback. Are there any questions? No Go ahead.
Jerry, just back to I forgot to ask this the other day, that money in the recycling account,
yeah.
Can we move that or not?
I mean, we can pull it out of, that money is held at the First National Bank. I mean, we can move it if you would like to move it. I would think that, I don't know, whatever council wants to do with it.
Does it have any other purpose?
I wasn't around when that grant came in, so I'm not sure what it was earmarked for. That would have to, council would have to decide that.
Why don't we sit down as a committee and talk about it and bring it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sound good, Nancy?
Yeah, that's fine.
Are there any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any no's? No no's. Motion passed. Police Chief's Ordinance Officer's monthly report.
This evening, we received 134 complaints, 12 crimes reported, 10 cleared, 8 arrests were made, 3 crime code summaries issued, 11 vehicle code summaries issued, 17 borough code summaries issued, and parking tickets, 74 parking tickets were issued. Fines and fees collected from the magistrates was $1,313.30. Borough fines and fees collected was $405,000.
405,000.
Oh, that's nice.
Good job, Jim.
Nice.
Good job.
Who's been sweet?
$405.
Nobody says they do their job.
$30 complete reports. $2,600 in amusement device permit fees. $6.91 in municipal fines. Our total fines and fees collected was $4,355.21. Another $1,358 in parking permits collected. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. Need a motion to accept the police chief's report.
Make that motion.
First by Mr. Forback, second. Second by Mr. Suchovich. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any no's? No no's. Motion passed. Verona Fire Chief's report.
We had a light month this month. We had 4 fire calls in the month of February. Gave our guys a little bit of a break, so that was it.
Need a motion to accept the Fire Chief's report.
I'll make that motion.
First by Mr. Matlock. Second by Alba. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any no's? Motion passed. EMS report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, Jerry. Or Jamie.
Another busy month for us. We did 40 calls total for February in Verona. 18 ALS, 9 BLS, 4 patient refusals, 6 lift assists, and 3 cancellations. And one thing, the Verona Police Chief and his officers per cancels on a lot of those lift assists, they usually get them up and back in, keeping us available for our calls. In addition, the mayor reached out to me, I believe last week, in reference to the coronavirus outbreak. Pretty much what I told him was, we treat it just like any other virus. There's no special task force, not masking up, gowning up our crews. Hospitals have a quarantine in place if and when it does affect the hospitals. I do have some pamphlets out on the table if anybody was interested. The symptoms are just like a fever or the flu. Fever, cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing. Mostly affecting the elderly with a low immune system or respiratory problems or the younger kids. I have personal hygiene, wash, cup your sleeves just like they've been telling you. So no real threat immediately to everybody. Anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
No problem.
Need a motion to accept the EMS report.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dr. Carpenter, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Suchovich. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any noes? No noes. Motion passed.
The only other two things I have, you guys are aware, Mark is going to be out for a little bit. He suggested to me there's a colleague of his that might be able to help us if we need it. You know, inspections are not going to be able to stop, so it would be kind of a as-needed basis, and just if we need somebody to cover if Keith can't do it. So everybody's going to try to step up their game and keep, he needs to take some time. Other than that, we made a last payment on the Public Works F-350 that we purchased a few years back. It is completely paid off. That means that the only debt that the borough has at this point is the fire truck, and we're on pace to have that paid off in I think 4 years, and that'll be paid off. So that truck is paid off. That's a payment we don't have anymore. Once we get closer to budget time, we're going to look. The F550 that we had a couple years ago or last year, we had to put a motor in. That motor had a 2-year warranty, so I think our intention was that before that 2 years goes up, to maybe replace that truck. So now that the F350 is paid off, we probably want to discuss that. So we'll get there during budget time. That's all I have.
So, Jerry, how much do we pay on the fire truck per payment?
It's an annual payment. It's around $60,000.
Okay.
And the pickup truck was about $13,000 per year. We just it's one annual payment.
Thanks.
Okay. Mayor Cooper.
Just a few things. We did go into an exec session before on some part-time officers. We got 1 or 2 applications in, and the deadline is this week. I just wanted to, let the people know that we're still working on that, trying to get some part-timers to come in. The other thing is RCAC, they're going to have, I had brought that up beginning of the year, the Wine and Beer Festival, which would be October 3rd, and they're getting all their permits and what have you, insurance together, and monies will be split, and there will be a donation, hopefully that they do good to the borough for, helping sponsoring it. And
Is that where they're closing a street down?
Yeah. It'll be closed. The time is still, I guess, up in the air. Probably like 6 to 9 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, Nancy.
Yeah.
We talked about that, and I gave Janet some information. She couldn't make it that night. Some updates, and there probably won't be any other updates until we get into August. Because everything, like I said, they're handling everything, RCAC, as far as insurance and all the permits. The borough really don't have nothing to do other than putting the van out here and blocking the street off. And I did, Laura Jacko, is it? She had asked about the railroad, and I did reach out to, Jerry, is his name Adam? I guess he's like the PR guy for the what is he on the?
I don't think it's PR. He works on the railroad, yeah. And
I did leave him a message. He never returned my call, and that was on, I believe, February 12th. It kind of bothers me when I don't get a call back. You know what? Answer my call and just tell me, hey, it's none of your business. The borough's business. Or tell me something. Right. I reached out to him. We had some citizens that were concerned, and he never returned my call. And like I said, I think that was very unprofessional of him. I have not heard anything, but I did reach out to try to find out. And like I said, it's all he had to say. It's none of the borough's business, none of the town's business. And I would have accepted that. Just answer your phone. That's all I have.
Okay. I have nothing at this time. Matt, Mr. Pitch.
Yes, thank you. Some of the projects are still moving along in the contract and bidding phases. I did speak with the mayor last month. There's been some congestion near the traffic signal at Wildwood. So when the weather permits, we're going to paint some parking and no parking on the curbs by the post office to try to alleviate some of that traffic. I did receive the asbestos reports for the CDBG demos on 4th Street. There was no asbestos materials at those structures, so I'm just awaiting the COG for a final bid schedule, and those will be moving forward. On the topic of the demos, the asbestos permit was received from the county, and the borough demo permit was issued to the contractor for 515 East Railroad, so I'm just waiting on a schedule for them to start the asbestos removal there. The 2019 paving of the 2nd Street, which was delayed to 2020. I did speak to the contractor. Their plans are as soon as the plant's open, which usually is around April. We're getting word possibly end of March, but due to the nicer weather this year, they plan on trying to get on that as soon as possible. And other than that, I've received some minor comments back for the PA Small Water and Sewer grant we applied for, and I took care of those and got the information that they asked for. And last meeting, we had some requests to look at the inlets and drainage on ARB. I did discuss with PennDOT and several other engineers that have dealt with them in the past. Unfortunately, PennDOT pushes the burden onto the municipality. So I did talk to AJ about that. He's adding it to his schedule of things to get to. We will have to get a vacker truck out for some of the pipes because they're pretty well clogged, but that's something that he's working on.
They were there this morning.
Were they? Okay.
Yeah, early this morning.
I didn't know what his time frame was, but he was getting it on his schedule.
They started on the boulevard.
And then just one last thing, Mr. Matlin and I talked last month about the stamped asphalt and some of the cracks. They do not make a product where you can just seal it, but I did talk to Seal Master that you can seal it and then restain it. So I'm in the process of talking to him. He said that we could handle that in-house, so I'm getting some prices on the materials.
Okay. Now I have a question. The cement work on Wildwood, do we have any, and I know that weather has a big play in that, but do we have any date when they're going to do that? I mean, I don't want to wait till June, July.
Yeah, I don't have a date yet. The contractor did just text me this morning asking to talk to him and set up a plan for it. So it seems like he has it on his radar. I did talk to him unrelated yesterday. He's finishing a project on 6th Street, I think it is, 7th in Penn Hills, and he only has about a week before finishing that up. So depending on weather, I'll talk to him and see if maybe we can't get him down this way. So that's another one I anticipated. It's sooner than later. He's aware of it, and he's been back several times to fix a couple potholes, so he would rather get the concrete down than continually patch it. So.
All right, thank you.
Anything else?
Unless there's any questions, that's all I have.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the mayor indicated, we did have an executive session today for personnel and contract matters immediately preceding the meeting. I prepared the letter to County Hauling, placing them on notice that they are in possible default, and gave them 30 days to cure the various violations. That was sent by email as well as regular mail. I haven't had anybody reach out to me in response to that letter. I don't know if anybody from the borough has heard any response.
No, I haven't.
Do you remember when you sent that?
It was last week.
Okay.
Mark had me look into a sheriff's sale that was going on at 845 2nd. Apparently, he's had some inquiries with regard to that property. That sheriff's sale has been stayed because the mortgage was brought current. I've reviewed the Verona Oakmont Penn Hills Plum Trail feasibility study. I believe that's almost finished. We have a resolution. We're going to adopt that today.
Well, the study hasn't been finalized.
Waiting for it to be finalized.
Yeah. So that's what, we had hoped it was going to be done. They haven't yet.
There's been some discussion on littering and whether we needed a standalone ordinance. I was able to cite to our current littering ordinance where it has to do with parking chairs or parking cones and the things that Trish was talking about earlier, that our littering ordinance, which is contained within the nuisance section of the Code 360, has specific references to not being permitted to put anything in the street. So my opinion is that that's on point, and we don't need any standalone ordinance. We put an article in the newsletter. Dawn helped out with that. I reviewed it, and I think we got the language nailed down and got it into the newsletter. Same thing with garbage carts. There was some question on whether we needed a standalone ordinance or a revision to our current ordinance that requires you to bring your garbage cans in the night of collection. That's actually in there. We've located it. I've sent it out to Dr. Carpenter, and I believe everybody else, I'm not sure. Working with Nancy on the preparation of the ordinances that she's going to go through, working with Mark on a lot of the code enforcement issues. And I mentioned at the last month's meeting, we made service on that complaint with Dion Staples and William Smith, what we refer to as the squatters down on West Railroad. They had gotten an attorney, and they filed an answer in new matter. I'm going to respond to that new matter. New matter in legal terms are affirmative defenses. And then we're going to go forward and with the motion for injunctive relief to see if we can get them out so that we can move forward with that property. And that's all I have to report.
Okay. Mr. Mallon.
I don't have anything on the agenda, but just a couple quick things. Jerry, I think you probably saw Angela had asked about us testing the water.
Yeah.
Let's make it behind the Doughboy.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to AJ and get that taken care of. Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. And I think that's it. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Dr. Carpenter.
Okay, so as you can see on the agenda, we are doing ongoing research regarding several things. Mr. Alexander addressed the garbage can policy situation and the chairs and cones in the street. Just so you know, we have been working on the article for the newsletter, but Donald and I were deciding that maybe we should wait on that only because the parking issue is morphing into something else.
I got that wrong.
Well, it just happened, literally. So I don't think there's going to be that article in this issue of the newsletter. We need a little more time to look at it and think about it, some of your suggestions and Mike's suggestions. And so we're going to wait on that article till the next newsletter. And where it says, short-term rentals is for Airbnb. Temporary dumpster fees is something that Mark brought to our attention about dumpsters like that go on ARB if someone's doing work. And so that to motivate people to get their work done and get that dumpster off there. And it isn't clearly spelled out. So we're going to work on that. And I think I asked someone, Mike or the mayor or Jerry or somebody was going to get the current parking fine structure for handicap, fire hydrants, yellow lines, and we're going to look at some of those fees and maybe change some of them. Forget item G3. That's an ordinance committee internal thing that may actually relate to the parking fines, but we'll get back with you about that. So the only other, you know what, Rhoda, I have an enforcement report here. I'm just not sure how we want to work that. I'm not going to read this whole report, but, I mean, there's no reason that people can't have a copy of it. So, I have a report, I always have a report, it's just too specific and there's a lot going on. So maybe we can talk about what you'd like to hear me.
Are there addresses on that? Property address?
Yes, there is.
Time elements on each one?
Time element, no. No, but this is the report that I've been getting. In regards to the parking situation on North and maybe other streets, we started discussing the parking tees, and I don't know whether it would be helpful. I mean, you were very good at outlining your solutions for various things, Trish. And I just wonder whether, and we were knocking around the idea of possibly looking at permits, free permits. I don't know if you think that would be good, but you know how to get in touch with me. We can talk about that too. And we can talk, then we'll talk about it at our next ordinance meeting, which is gonna be on the 5th Monday this month, just because I have a conflict on the 23rd. The last but not least is I'm going to remake my motion for the sheriff's sale for 812 First Street for the reasons that I noted at the last meeting: unpaid taxes, it needs work, but it's not horrible, and we'd just like to get this back on the tax roll. So I'm gonna make a motion to have 812 First Street be put up for sheriff's sale.
There's a motion on the floor to have 812 First Street put up for sheriff's sale. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Laube. Are there any questions?
I have one. What house is this? Is this the one you were talking about last month, Nancy? Yeah. Wasn't that the 700 block?
No, it's 812.
Is that your powerhouse?
You're thinking maybe of a different property?
Okay.
It's on between First and Parker? Or, I mean, North and Parker.
It's between Center and Union.
Okay, I know which house.
The big gray house.
Yeah, okay. I'm in the wrong block. Okay.
So was I.
I'm in the wrong block. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Are there any other, wait, we have a motion on the floor. Are there any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Motion passed.
Just one thing, Jerry, with that, I have a note here that you were gonna try and get in touch with Tammy.
Yeah, I'll reach out and see if we can get her to split the cost.
Split the cost, because I think we have one other.
Yep.
The address I can't think of right off the top of my head. And I like your idea, Rhoda, about enclosures around the dumpsters. So we'll bring it up at the next ordinance meeting. With everything going on, I think I've forgotten about that, but I have it on my notes now. Thank you. That's it for me, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Forbeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. The LGA Local Government County, I just want to say, I want to thank the council and Jerry for letting Dr. Carpenter, Mr. Matlin and myself attend this 6-week course. It was a fantastic course on many aspects of local government, anything from maintenance to police to many different things. I was in government for 30 years and I've learned a lot of things in this course. I was very impressed. Two of the three of us actually graduated with summa cum laude, which means highest score and perfect attendance, and we would have 3 of us if somebody would have made perfect attendance. And that's pretty good because there's 8 out of 100 people got this, so you guys should be proud of your Verona folks for doing this. So.
Good for you.
Yeah. So police applications, we talked about that. The other thing I wanted to bring up was I did get in contact with Kay Pierce from Allegheny County Economic Development. She is retiring in April, Unfortunately, she's the one that was dealing with the grants for the comprehensive plans. She wrote a nice email to me and gave us a lot of good information. We can follow up, and I'm going to follow up with a new person when they come on board. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sutsevich.
The Finance Budget Committee met last week for some questions and issues that a couple people had. We got it all squared away, I think so, and I think everybody left the meeting happy, and we're good to go. That's it.
Okay. Ms. Alba.
I do have a couple of things since the agenda was written. I'm going to bring to Matt's attention to the mulching of the parks for the summer. I'd like to have that done before the opening of the parks. That would be at Cribs and at Riverbank around the plate. And that was a priority, this past summer for the fall for the opening. We definitely need to have that done. So Matt's going to get into it more. We can move forward with that. Trish also brought to my attention, Verona's going to have the Shakespeare in the Park. Everybody got the flyer, and there's flyers up here coming July 17th. Oakmont was also going to do a Shakespeare in the Park too, but they decided that their venue wasn't going to be good enough. They liked our venue better, so they're going to be very supportive of the Verona's Shakespeare. They want to help promote it, and they were thinking maybe we could have a road closure on that evening. It's a Friday evening. I don't know. We can bring in some food trucks, make it a big double community event between Oakmont and Verona.
Yeah, I have no problem. We can do that.
I think it's a good idea.
That'd be awesome.
So if we can do, but like the beer trucks, is that what your intention was too? When you said the IPAs or whatever, I don't know what the insurance is with that, but we can look into that down the road.
You get the inner groove already here.
Yeah. Barbecue and everything else. I don't know.
Well, that should probably be something that you should talk to them about.
Okay.
The inner groove, and with different food trucks, they may.
Right. So make it,
make it a local thing and
between Oakmont, Verona, and promote it. A lot of foot traffic and bring. I'm always going to bring beer. And this coming Saturday, the rec board, they're going to be assessing each of the parks to see what things might need repaired or updated, so we can bring to your attention, Dave. Work with the crew, see what needs done, and go from there. And the next rec board meeting will be April 7th. It's a Tuesday here at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Isn't that, we had our first meeting?
anything else?
April 7th is our meeting, isn't it?
We're the
Oh, second, you're right. We're not
Second
yeah,
Tuesday.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're
it's
right.
the first Tuesday.
Will be
so.
the 14th.
Yeah.
Is anything going on up there at the parks with them playing ball or anything over the winter?
Not, the park's been closed over the winter. So
Well, I didn't know, sometimes it's been open, and some people have a key, from what I understand.
I think there's a lot of people that have keys.
That would be something to look into, about getting them locks changed.
I know the basketball courts, I know they were bustling this weekend with the nice weather.
I mean, we gotta know who's going in there.
We can get
I mean, that field gets chomped up, and then who pays for it? Us.
We can get
something to look into.
AJ to look at that and change them locks. Make sure they're only the right people have them.
You say April 7th?
Ms. Provenza, are you done?
I am, thank you.
Ms. Provenza.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Happy to report, newsletter is off to the printer. We will have it in our mailboxes very soon. And I'd like to take a minute and thank all the businesses and the residents of our community who come forward and put ads in our newsletter. It's a tremendous help, and it saves me from going into the budget. To this day, I have not touched the budget, so I'm real happy to report that. And also, we have many, many wonderful new articles this time, and that's a big thank you to Dawn, our editor, and his assistant, Rhoda. Thank you so much for all the work you do. Newsletter is really shaping up and looking great, so thank you very much. And Angela, of course, does a great job as our treasurer. She's always right on the mark with the money. So we have a good team that works here together, and I just really thank you. Thank you all. On Sunday, the 15th of this month, I talked with Rhea and Josh, and they are going to be doing a sort and packaging again at their home. Their film has to be put together, sorted out, and packaged. And they will have a sorting meeting from 1 to 3 this coming Sunday. And if we have any volunteers out there, or if you know of anybody that can help, they really could use the help. This has been a humongous project that they've taken on, and I think they've done a stellar performance. They've just done a great job. They still have about 400 pounds left to package, and they'll soon have their basement back again. They've been without a basement for quite a few months. And the first bench is going to be put at the pickleball court. We're actually going to end up with 2 benches. So the first one will be down at pickleball court. And today was the last day to deposit any of the film into the boxes at the different stores. So she said, please don't bring any more down to the stores. But if you want to do any plastic, plastic can still be taken to the Waterworks Giant Eagle over across the river at Fox Chapel, or the Giant Eagle at Rodi Road, Penn Hills. They're both taking plastic, so you can still take it there and they'll accept it. It's not a problem. And also, they asked that you please not put plastic film out for recycling, because what it's doing is it's messing up all the machinery. It's getting jammed in there, and it's taken many, many days to clear that machinery up, which holds everything back as far as, you know, getting out and getting the job done. And also, they extend many, many thanks to all the volunteers who have done a tremendous job and stepped up to the plate to help. They said just thanks a million to everybody. And I also say thanks a million to Josh and Rhea, because they have done a great job. That was monumental. So thanks to the volunteers, and without a question, thanks to Josh and Rhea. Secondly, on Thursday, the 19th, is our Historical Society meeting, and I thank Rhoda. She does a wonderful job with that. Thanks a million, Rhoda. Great evening when we get together. And our guest speaker that evening is going to be Gary Rogers, and he's with the Oakmont Historical Society, and he's our speaker for that night, and his topic is going to be the St. Patrick's Day flood of 1936. So that should be a really, really good story to hear. That takes us back many years into a real situation that people maybe don't know about and would like to hear. And we always have refreshments, and Rhoda does a raffle. It's a great night, so please invite family and friends to come. You won't regret it. Thirdly, Wednesday, the 25th of this month, is the community dinner at the Methodist Church here on Center Avenue, and it's from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And it'll be hosted by the Riverside Community Church in Oakmont. So you may want to share that with some people. They get quite a crowd, and the food, I understand, is wonderful. So please share that with family and friends. And last, but certainly not least, this Saturday, there's going to be a very large flea market up at the Greek Social Hall here on Washington Avenue in Oakmont. And they do a stellar performance up there, a great job. It will run from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and there's about 45 tables now and more to come. So there will be many, many treasures to find there, and they will have food and refreshments. It's a nice thing to attend, and it's a great fundraiser for the church. So please try to remember those dates. And that's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have one thing, if I may. I forgot to, Janet just jogged my memory. It's either for Pat and Jerry. In front of the monument out here, police monument, the sidewalk's all black. If they could pressure wash that. I don't know if it's mud or like a mold, you know how it builds up. I just noticed it walking in. I mean, it's like, wow, that's all black. It looks like heck. So if they could, you know, get a chance to pressure wash that.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Anything from Alan, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President. as the delegate here for Verona Borough, I attended that function along with Nancy, and a presentation will be made to the borough at the next regular meeting. We are waiting for the county to send back the report and the paperwork on that, so I will have a complete report on that at the next regular meeting. But it was a wonderful affair. That ALOM is really growing, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. Very, very nice day. Very well done.
Okay. That's the Banner community?
Yes, sir. So we are a Banner community. All the paperwork that I turned in was accepted, and we're in.
Good work.
Good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
Mr. Matlin, anything from?
I attended the COG meeting February 26th. Pretty short meeting. Adopted the budget for 2020. Just under $200,000. It's a pretty small budget, but they talked about some of the projects. They have grant funding going. That's about it. So nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. TCC? Nothing? Okay, well, council here, comments from the public. Please come forward, state your name, your address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
You're going to kill me.
3 minutes, Rhoda.
No, I swear. Ward 636 3rd Street in Verona. Dave, I don't know if you shared this yet. Is this too premature?
I haven't, well, it sort of got shared to some people, but not everyone.
I think it's fantastic. I don't know if you want to share it now or...
I was going to take any last comments you and Angela had and get with Jerry and try to get it out.
Dave put a lot of work into a proposal for our landscaping for the borough and the locations that were discussed, and it's just wonderful. It is. So, and I think this would be the ticket for us. And it's nice that, you have a contract, so you know what's expected, and they know what's expected of them, the different companies. But my concern was, is it going to be too late to submit this to different companies because it's already March? That's my only concern, because right now they probably already have their schedule done.
They do, but it's still, you have probably till the end of the month to get, we're starting at the end of the month personally, so is a lot of others.
Okay, this has to be shared, because like I said, he put a lot of work into it, and it's great. It's going to make a difference for Verona. Entering and leaving. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your feedback on it.
Absolutely.
Dave, I would also like to give you some feedback on that.
Sure, yeah.
When I was up, I have a transcript of what I wrote, or what I talked about.
You're still passing stuff up.
You got a little bit better than I speak, so.
Thank you.
This might help a little bit. These are the two pictures.
Okay.
That's good. Sorry, my printer wasn't working very well. Is there a printer here? Back here? Oh, I'm sorry.
You mean a copier?
A copier?
Yes.
Well, they only made 9 copies. If someone believes me,
Here, I don't need one.
No. Thank you. You need one more. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make
sure
in a minute.
Jack gets a copy.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Joey Warren from Vogels Lane again. Just for clarity from earlier's conversation, because I know there seem to be some emotions in that, I just want you to understand that I am sharing objective feedback, so I just want to mention one more time. Jerry, specifically, because I know you'd mentioned something, nothing is personal with what I've shared, it's just me as a resident wanting to share my feedback, which I think is the right forum here. And I appreciate you guys listening to all that earlier. Also, one thing to note from last week, I mentioned shortly earlier, Off the Rails opened up on Saturday, which is wonderful. We also, in this past, I think, month, had a business featured on a podcast. We had a filming crew in town last week that was filming a business as well. So I'm very much looking forward to the community's growth in the next few months. In anticipation of Acclamation Brewing, the 4th business to open up in our area, it's not in our municipality, I understand, but there are boundaries. I'm not quite sure where those are, but I had a couple of questions from last time. Matt, you probably know these by heart for the boundary lines. But as you come down 2nd Street, and you come to Wildwood and you turn the corner, whose sidewalk is that as you approach where the turn is to go onto
Right
Wildwood?
where the pouch is on.
Yeah.
Like where the new concrete sidewalk is?
Yeah.
Correct. Like as you go down 2nd, whose sidewalk is that on the right?
That would be Verona's.
That is Verona's?
Yeah.
There's a lot of overgrowth there, and I'm not sure if it's the property owner for acclimation or the other businesses. There's a cluster, but just to share back with you guys, probably more than half the sidewalk is overgrowth and litter right now. I understand it's going to be a future work site when they do the permanent work, but I just want to share back that not only are the trees growing in, but also a lot of the pieces have washed out. So if you guys could take a look at that, I appreciate it. And also anticipation of the business. I'm not sure also, is any of that not our property where it's parking on 2nd? Because I think, more of a question right now, I'm not sure if you have the boundaries in front of you, but...
From Shannon Road down.
Is Verona?
Is Penn Hills.
Is Penn Hills. As a neighboring community, maybe taking a look at where the yellow line starts so there's not an issue with people parking too far down or parking overnight or things like that. Because it's going to be a lot of issue, I think, with parking and people wanting to walk to the businesses around the corner. I know I've walked two off the rails over the past weekend, but just taking a look at that segment with our neighbors then, if it's not Verona, to take a look at where it's painted and where it's allowed for parking. And then also from last month, I had mentioned that as you come down 2nd to Wildwood, I know there were a lot of updates with the LED lights, but there were 3 lampposts I mentioned taking a look into to transition to LED. One is next to the automotive business, one is across the street where the bus stop is, where our residents use, and then one more down where people are often crossing as employees.
I think I did text you on that. I looked into that with Penn Hills. That's Penn Hills?
Yeah, well, you texted last month that you're going to ask somebody there on vacation.
Yeah, I thought the borough manager's looking into that. The Duquesne Light is doing what they're doing in Verona, in Penn Hills also.
So they could extend the same thing?
Yeah. I mean, he says the most I could do is bring that up to them. You know, Duquesne Light, that's up to them where they start on, you know, Penn Hills, just like in Verona.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
But I did look into that.
Yeah.
When you were saying the painting on 2nd, were you meaning where the no parking starts so it doesn't congest the intersection?
That's what I'm curious about. So if, you know, in what, a month or so, a month and a half, it's going to be newly paved. It's going to look really nice. There's going to be a new business. There's going to be people there. People are going to either want to walk down or going to want to park there.
Okay.
And I just didn't know if it's going to be painted properly so that people know where they can and can't park, or who even regulates it. I'm just not sure where the boundary is that we would say as a community, we do want parking to be throughout here, but it's only limited hours.
I don't know if we were planning on putting parking stalls there, but it's something we can look into. If not stalls, we can certainly have yellow curb and a line designated not to park beyond there.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, like I said, I'm not sure the boundaries, not sure what the use is that far off of Wildwood, but it's just something I want to think about before it got too busy, because I know it's going to be, you know, a nice destination.
Yeah, before you know it, someone will park and block the road.
Or park overnight, or park for the weekend, or 3 people drive over, 1 person drives home. So just one of those things, I think, just being ahead of the curve with all the improvements coming to that corner. Thank you.
Matt, can I interject? Forgive me for interrupting, but when he was asking about that sidewalk, when I was on council and I was like, with ordinances, I actually went to that company, the Italian company that was there with that new breweries, they owned that property. Because I went to them and they went and they cut the grass and everything.
Yeah, so where the woods begins would be where the brewery and the old noodle factory was. That whole hillside is, so the trees would be theirs.
Yeah, the pickle place, yes.
Yes.
I can't remember the gentleman's name, but there's...
Victor Ravioli.
Huh?
It was Victor's Ravioli.
Victor Ravioli.
Okay.
And now it's a pickle
He's got a couple
place.
streets named for him near Davies. He has like something way, it begins with L.
Lamont.
Yes. That's who, yeah.
Yeah, but that's Victor Ravioli. That was Victor Ravioli. That wasn't Lamont, it wasn't?
That's who I had connected with.
They owned it. They did own it, yeah.
They did me a favor. They were very nice about it.
Are there any other comments? Need a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
First by Mr. Sutter, second by Ms. Provenza. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. No noes. Motion passed. Meeting adjourned.